Okay, you guys, we're live. Ready? Yep. Okay.
My bad, I'm sorry.
Everybody's watching. Did you want more electro?
Good morning, everyone. My name is Brooke Conley, and I'm here today to present the 2014 client report for ProFeet. So I had a unique relationship this semester because I didn't work directly with the client, but I manage itself within this marketplace. Well, ProFeet's a pretty unique company. They not only serve athletes, student athletes, but they also reach the tactical market. They reach out to military professionals, uniformed workers. They supply stocks to everyone from postal workers to policemen and firefighters, as well as your local high school and college teams and your rec leagues. They also have 3 different revenue streams. So they have the ProFeet.com website where people can go online, they can order a custom-made sock. Or they can go through sales representatives. A lot of times the schools will want longer-term contracts, and they'll go to sales reps to sort of bulk order and devise customized stocks for different sports teams. And then there's also retail stores. There isn't really a consistent base of retail stores, but they are located in various stores across the country, including Graham Sporting Goods right here in Burlington, North Carolina. And in those stores, they're competing with the likes of everyone from Nike to Under Armour to Adidas. So I wanted to start by just looking at a little bit of the strengths and weaknesses and opportunities for ProFeet in these markets. The strengths is that they're made right here in America. They pride themselves on the fact that the production is done here, that inventories are kept here, and that quick shipping times are made to their customers. Their weaknesses, though, are that there's low brand recognition. A lot of people have never heard of ProFeet. They have a low marketing and advertising budget because they're a small business. And they have little interaction with their overall end users with so many different revenue streams and systems of getting the product into the consumer's hand. Opportunities exist in social media. They're just sort of getting started in that domain, and part of what you'll see later is ideas for what to do there. There's opportunity to do more with community events, things like mud runs or obstacle videos, different things that Live Oak has done for them in the past. It would be a great opportunity to showcase right here on the home. Other important fixes include a search box, having the customer be able to quickly find what they're looking for, a frequently asked sections part. There's nothing in here on the home page or anywhere on the site that tells you where the retail locations are, or what sort of deals they offer for bulk ordering, or any assortment of questions that the consumer might have when they're trying to decide on whether they want to buy this product. As well as a responsive design. This website does not work well on mobile. You pull up your mobile phone, it's the exact same website with really hard to read text, sort of crammed into a mobile phone. It would be great if this could be adapted to a mobile site, or just have a simple, sort of simplified version that people on the go can quickly find what they're looking for with regards to protein products. Optional fixes include things with a little bit more navigation, like when you click, it turns color so you know where you've been, or a site map so users can easily understand at the bottom where things are within the ProFeed site. Next, we looked at reputation analysis. So basically, put ProFeed into Google search and we looked to see what the results were. The good part, at the top, we looked at the top 30 sites when you search ProFeed. The number one that comes up is ProFeed.com, which is great. Obviously, they want their company front and center. Unfortunately, after that, there isn't a whole lot more that ProFeed actually owns. There's only one social media that makes the top 30. That's their Twitter page, which comes in 27. There's 16 out of 30 sites that are completely unrelated to ProFeed. Everything from questions answered about MacBook Pro to a sports store in Georgia. And there's also very little content that's actually helpful for ProFeed in that there's only maybe one site with a negative review and then a couple other sites with 2 or 3 positive reviews. So overall, there's a lot more that can be done in filling this space with interesting and original content that links you back to ProFeed Inc. specific sites. To do that, we've got to work on the SEO. So search engine optimization is where you show up in your Google search. Coming straight from the Google Analytics at ProFeed.com, organic search brings in 65% of all of their traffic to the website. just now getting into Facebook, perhaps his kids made him an account to help him see a little bit more of his grandkids or what's going on. Maybe he's a postal worker, possibly a retired veteran, but he's using Facebook to stay involved with his local community and his family, and to hear more about interesting products. Social listening is incredibly important. ProFeed right now has no Instagram presence. They have no account, and but more importantly, with his Twitter own profile, it says that he loves socks. Talk about a perfect representative. We also looked at measurement. So we wanted to sort of have all different goals within measuring tools. A lot of companies tend to just view social reach as important. Well, I need followers and I need fans, and if I've got those, then I'm doing well. Well, it's not just the social reach. When we started, we had 38 followers on Twitter. We had 537 fans on Facebook. Those were great, but they were all friends and family. So we started to think about 6-month benchmarks, as well as 500 to 100 to 1,000 follower goals to make it a little bit easier and manageable to understand where we were trying to get. We also talked about adding stickers to the actual ProFeed products that told customers who like the brand where they could go to find out more information online and follow them through social media. Engagement also needed to be tracked. Likes, loves, comments, replies, favorites, retweets. This is how the customer is staying involved with the brand on social media, rather than just sort of a passing glance. To do that, you have to stay on top of the Facebook and Twitter analytics within the accounts, and really study what the competitors are doing in that landscape too. What sort of content is getting the most engagement? Are they doing more with photos that people really like? Could we revamp our strategy to include more of that kind of product? And then social conversion. Of course, every business cares about the bottom line, and they want to see if sales are increasing through social media. So inbound links to the website, goals for call to anything we put out as paid advertising or a call to action to come and buy things. You can track within Google Analytics with custom URLs to determine where that traffic is coming from, and if it's actually leading to sales in the long run. Also, it's a good suggestion to possibly have an exit page at the end of the buying process that revamp That includes social media. And then I'll just sort of quickly go through the content. We basically had a 70-20-10 strategy with regards to content. We would do 70% facts, repurposed, cultivated, trending topics, things that are motivational, throwback vintage wear, fancy trick moves, staying in the holiday spirit, and trying to find ways to link in the pro feed with what's going on in the everyday conversation. 20% would be customer profiles and interactions, really sort of highlighting our brand, having more with who's using these products, something that maybe the global Nikes don't really do as much of because they can't. We can really represent the customers, and this is one thing that Swiftfoot does well. This is just highlighted on their homepage. It's just a guy who's done a lot in terms of triathlons and his opinion on the Pro-Feed product and what he likes, and just showcasing that, hey, we're involved in the community, we love our customers, and we want them to have a space in social media or on our webpage. And then 10% direct promotion, which includes new product lines, what's so different between a sublimation sock versus a knit sock, what's new, what's trending, what's popular, what's coming down the line. They have some new tie-dye products that they're getting ready to look at selling, and just having those photos ready to go, as well as fun photos and when they go to events or trade shows of their sales representatives enjoying selling the product, as well as those brand ambassador influencers. So in the future, just more research needs to be done, of course, as Live Oak continues its relationship, including surveys on brand loyalty and recommendations and how people are introduced to the product, as well as open communications with sales representatives about which products are doing well and how to maintain customer relationships. Right now, Pro-Feed's future in the digital space is up in the air. With the right tools and strategy, Live Oak can help them become a pro.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Jeffrey Williamson, for those who do not know me, and today I will be presenting my client report on Gregory Greer Incorporated. So let's get started. Okay. This semester, we were given 4 major projects to complete for Gregory Greer, whoever our clients were. So first and foremost, we completed an online reputation analysis, a usability and page speed report, a search engine optimization SEO report, audit, and a social media plan. So who is Gregory Greer? Has anyone in here ever heard of Gregory Greer before the semester actually started? You have, Brandon?
From you.
Okay. Okay, Gregory Greer Incorporated is the East Coast's most comprehensive supplier of office furniture products, services, and information. I guess a little plug to put in is that I actually worked for Live Oak my senior year, and I was part of the creative team. I was creative coordinator, and my friend actually designed the logo when they went through a huge rebranding process. So shout out to her. So the plan was to conduct a series of assessments to observe, interpret, and create a 6-month social media plan for the company. They already had a social media plan in place, but we wanted to enhance that. So I worked directly with Marissa Moody, who's at Live Oak Communications. So some of the goals that I created, that I suggested for Gregory Greer, was to increase the Twitter followers by 50%, to actively engage with followers on Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn. These are just ways to measure the process or the amount of information that comes in and how to take that and learn how to work from it. So one of the KPIs would be website traffic and visitors. We wanted to increase that for Gregory Greer. So that is to measure the increase and decrease in visitors to your site. I told them that their goal should be to increase the site views in order to help with brand awareness and building their clientele. They did this through their already in place Google Analytics page. To have new clients and to maintain the clients that they already have. For those who have not heard of Gregory Greer before, some of their major clients are, of course, Elon University. I don't know if anyone had the opportunity to go to the Oaks Residential Hall, but they did all the interior design for that, as well as the Charlotte Bobcats for my sports fans. Cloud Score. So it's brilliant. Cloud is a website and mobile app that uses social media analytics and ranking on influencers. You can rate them from 0 to 100. I told them to have and maintain a score of about 35%. The Twitter reach and engagement. In the beginning of the semester, Gregory Greer had about 37 followers. The goal for the first 6 months was to increase that number by 50%, bring that anticipated follower count to about 56. They now have about 41 followers. I started in around February when we went to get this plan in place, and 3 months have passed already. I want to go ahead and let you all know what progress they have made thus far with 3 months left over. And of course, for those who don't know about Live Oak, they change staff every semester. So students have the option to stay at Live Oak Communications. But a lot of them either graduate off or they switch positions at a company or they switch different teams. So the main thing is making sure that everything was consistent from semester to semester, making sure the social media plan was intact. To increase the page speed, we conducted a page speed analysis, and after doing this from the Google developer site, we observed that Gregory Greer's score was 77 out of 100, and their mobile site was about 67 out of 100. From this point, we were able to determine what steps were needed to increase the score. So the plan of action to fix all of these things that needed help were to have about 3 tweets per day, one to promote the company, and two to promote the facet of a particular industry, so within interior design or office design. To design a new Twitter layout and background, so everyone knows when they first started their Twitter account, if you didn't have an avatar, they had like the little egg, and that's not really appealing when someone follows you. So to have a personalized account, let them know that we are Gregory Greer, we are a visual industry, and this is what we do. To follow similar companies that help with decorating, such as Ashley Furniture Warehouse, HGTV, the Do-It-Yourself Network, and Office Depot. To maintain a consistent voice across all social media sets. So we wanted the tone of voice to be consistent, whether if they wanted to tweet something or put it on LinkedIn. We didn't want to have two different tones presented to confuse the users. Of course, brand awareness is a huge aspect of what Gregory Greer wanted to incorporate. About 2 blog posts per week, and I must say that Gregory Greer has done a great job with maintaining their blog posts. When we met and early on in the semester, we talked about the types of content that we wanted to put out. We just didn't want to go in blindly and just put information out about office design. We wanted to have a purpose behind it, so showing before and after photos. It is a visual industry, so showing that information. To use tags and hashtags on Twitter and the blog page. For those who don't know what hashtags are, it's basically an archive of information that you can put hashtag Gregory Greer Incorporated. And everything that you tweet, everything that you post, whether it's on a blog post, Twitter, or even Facebook now, are able to see that collection of that archive of things related to Gregory Greer and go immediately see that. And then the last thing was to move to using LinkedIn. Before the semester started, their main choice for social media was Twitter. Twitter is a great way, of course, to reach out to individuals, especially using the hashtags. But LinkedIn is a way to connect more professionally with individuals. So you can connect directly to companies, since it is a business-to-business company. You can connect directly to VIPs and CEOs of these companies, and other people can see the work that you're able to do. You're able to show them. Okay. The online reputation analysis. So what is this? The task consisted of typing in Gregory Greer into Google and observing the first 30 links that came up in the search results. After clicking through all these links, we were able to determine which links were actually Gregory Greer, what sentiment they had, if it was positive or negative, and which were actually related to Gregory Greer or not. The page speed analysis and the rank is scored, as I mentioned, 77% for the desktop version of this website and 62 out of 100 for its mobile version. Some of the essential elements that needed to change were optimizing the images on the website and eliminating render blocking in JavaScript and CSS. I'm going to explain those a little bit. So with optimizing images, basically the website has a lot of huge images on its website. So some of them will be few megabytes, a few kilobytes, or we try to, I encourage them to make those images smaller because that can decrease the page speed. So if they're optimized, you make them smaller, basically keeping them at the best quality while shrinking the image. It can help with the page speed. I'm also eliminating render blocking of JavaScript and CSS above the code. So when you go to the website, basically condensing lines of code instead of having huge spaces in between it, condensing it a little bit, and it helps with the page speed as well. So the SEO audit, it is a report that assesses the main elements of search engine optimization and the sliders that crawl through the website to make sure the pages are linked together and that everything is indexed. So for this assignment, we were to assess the linked pages, the number of clicks it takes to get from one feature to the website to another, the alt text utilization, constructive navigation, making sure that everything was in order as the pages went on, the appropriate URLs, making sure the URLs were not too long, making sure they were rememberable, titles and meta tags, and content duplication, making sure things were not the same copy wasn't on one page as was on another page. And after observing the above elements, we had to define them, measure the site's progress in relationship to them, and suggest ways to improve them. So the results. All of the links had accessible content, so everything was relevant on the content. So if one page had about Gregory Greer, that page was specifically giving information about the history of Gregory Greer, who was the CEO at the moment, the past CEOs, and how things worked out. Bless you. The site map on the page allows for all the pages to be indexed, so everything is put into order, and everything is able to be searchable on Google and SEO, and the spiders are able to go through the page, not real spiders. The alt text for the images' names could be more descriptive and to receive more referral traffic from the search results. So instead of just having an image on the web page that says chair, that's just an example, to be more specific, you could type in like the specific brand chair, so actually furniture like that chair, and those images can be searched just like you're able to type in Gregory Greer in Google. You can search for images, and it brings in more referral traffic for that. The URLs were static and appropriate. What I mean by the URLs being static is that they didn't consist of a lot of numbers, a lot of ampersands and equal signs. They were very easy to remember. You were able to type those in, so you didn't have to worry about that. They were not too long, so if people type in and get frustrated, and they end up going to the wrong website. Of course, we know how frustrating that can be. The titles and meta tags should have fewer characters and be more descriptive. Be more descriptive. The meta tags had about 178 characters, and it suggested they have 160 characters or below. And they, like I said, they can also be more descriptive. So if you have a tag or a page that was like I said before, about, you should say about Gregory Greer. It also helped with the search results or manufacturing. And then to eliminate duplicate content. All of the meta descriptions had the appropriate amount of characters and words within that. So when you typed it in, the description of it came. The only thing is they were all the same, so it wasn't anything, and there also was not a call to action within that, so I would suggest changing that. So what should Gregory Greer Incorporated share on social media? Because, of course, we're creating the social media plan, and they wanted to know what content would work best for the website. The company updates, these would be great things to share. What new clients did you land this month? What new clients did you land this week? What work did you complete for them, so you can show potential clients what we can do for your company. A lot of visual content, because it's a very visual industry with it being office design and interior design, it would be beneficial to show potential clients the work that you do and what your company has to offer. They've been doing a great job on their blog posts showing the type of work that they are able to do, as well as sharing on their social networks as well. Blog posts, we also know what blog posts are by the end of this semester, I think. Finding blog content, so using RSS feeds. RSS stands for really simple syndication. And Google Trends, I can talk about those a little bit. It's basically you're able to get a culmination of all specific topics or industries to write about. It's just a collection. If you're searching for blog content, what you want to write for that week, I would really suggest using RSS feeds and Google Trends to find out the latest topics, and that therefore you can go ahead and create your original content from that. You should be following similar companies on social media, so following their blogs. I know that DIY Network has a great blog with before and after projects, at-home projects if you want to work on, but they also have a special section dedicated to office design. Using sites like Cloud to find influential content. Not only can you manage your Cloud score from 0 to 100 on Cloud, but it also provides you with content that, based upon your followers and your social media site, what you should share out and find your top influencers. So if you have an influencer with like 100,000 followers, knowing how to directly reach out to them. And you also have the ability to +1 or check off the credibility for that person that you follow, so it adds to their credibility as well. So within the blogs, I suggest using inbound links, so connecting with other bloggers or having guest bloggers come to your site and write. When you have these inbound links, you're able to give traffic to that person that you follow or that person that you mentioned in the blog and provide traffic for them, and hopefully they will do the same for you in return. To use tags related to your content, so instead of just writing the blog and publishing it or letting it go out, put it in something like Gregory Greer Incorporated so it can come up in search results as well. Keep a consistent tone of voice to help in brand awareness. Of course, here's brand awareness again, a huge aspect of what Gregory Greer Incorporated wanted to bring into their business, and create visual and relevant content. So LinkedIn and Facebook, I did mention Twitter before, but LinkedIn and Facebook are the main social media aspects that I encourage Gregory Greer to use. Suggestions for using LinkedIn and Facebook as the major social media platforms because they both encourage business-to-business communications, direct connection to business professionals and VIPs as well as CEOs. It encourages longer client cycles, and it's easy to promote your brand's visibility, especially to those within the professional industry. So 3-month progress, this is the progress that they've made over the last 3 months. Of course, it's a 6-month plan, but I felt it was necessary to share the information for what they've completed this past 3 months. So they've actually made a lot of great progress. The main issue, as I mentioned, was making sure that the next semester students are aware of what to incorporate or what techniques to use for social media because they do rotate regularly. So for the semester evaluation, Gregory Greer's website received 666 total visits, with 70.87% of those people who had not been to the website before. 50.40% of the visitors and referral traffic came to Gregory Greer website from the blog. So the blog content that they're putting out has been phenomenal. They're reaching out to a lot of people. They're working with a lot of potential clientele, and I think that's just great for brand awareness. People are learning about the company as well as reading the content that they have to put out. They created about 185 tweets within the last 3 months, covering 37 weeks worth of content. The tweets followed Gregory Greer's social media strategy that was already in place in cooperation with mine of 50% curated content, 20% promotional content, and then 30% original content. They increased their Twitter followers by 14.8% and had 4 tweets marked favorite, and 3 by businesses and 1 by an individual. Now, although this may seem small, this is actually a huge step to what they want to incorporate. As I mentioned in the beginning, I suggested they have about a 50% increase in Twitter. So with 3 months going by, they have 14.8%. It's actually progress. They're moving to something. Maybe a little bit more effort can be put into actually reaching out to people or connecting directly with individuals or directly mentioning certain individuals to get more traffic to generate to their website. But I think 14.8% has been a great increase for what they intended to happen. They had a 50% increase in LinkedIn followers. As I mentioned, LinkedIn is a great way to connect with these other businesses and CEOs, so that's a great increase. 100% increase in the blog followers, so as well as reshares of their posts to their users' Twitter accounts. The blogs have been getting a lot of readerships and a lot of shares. And then a 100% increase, the ideal next steps to continue the social media plan. So tweeting, Facebook, blogging, and pinning. All of these social networks all have a visual aspect to it. So we want to go with that specific point. To consider ways to hit the ground running for the fall semester and training for Live Oak workers. Being an alumni of Live Oak, I know that they have a training session that takes place before the semester starts. The students learn whose team they're on, what accounts they're on, and what their specific role will be for that following semester. Then to complete another assessment prior to the fall semester to have measurements and another start point. So after the 6 months are up, which would be right when the fall semester starts, to conduct another analysis of what we've achieved thus far. So what's the percentage of increase of Twitter followers, how many more LinkedIn shares, how many more Twitter followers that we have, so we can figure out what steps we need to go and where we actually are in our social media plan. So thank you so much for your time, and that concludes my presentation. the 9.0 and deliver the client deliverables to the residents. That's what I'm on.
Yes.
Absolutely. Some people.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Russell Barner, and along with Molly McBride and Matt Cullity, we worked on Walker Shortbread for our SEO. Just a real quick overview on the goals in Walker Shortbread in general. Walker Shortbread is one of the better known shortbread providers in not just America, but in the world. They are based out of England, actually, and are trying to increase their base here in the United States. As you can see, the goals we were given were to increase traffic to the website, try to increase conversion rates, and to encourage more conversation on social media sites. From talking with our clients and our own research, the typical Walker Shortbread audience member is female, 45 to 65 years old, affluent, travel, well educated, and they want to try and engage more with the secondary market, with the daughters and nieces and grandchildren of those people who are now in their 20s, 30s, etc. on social media to try and engage more with them. So, as people before me have explained, we use reputation analysis, website abilities, et cetera, to try and gauge what Walker's had so far and where they stand. And currently they do very well. But of course there are a few things to work on. Starting with reputation analysis, again, Walker ranks very highly on this. Out of the 30 sites that we reviewed, every one of them was neutral or positive. The website usability, for the most part, was very good. You can see clear path on for the sales process, which is the primary goal of the site. Help not necessary, not very necessary. One of the goals that Walkers gave to us was to try and increase their corporate gift giving option. And we'll go into a little more detail about that later, but that was a little difficult and tricky to find. They also wanted to try and increase subscription, which was a little difficult. As you can see, the site is a little cluttered. They recently underwent a redesign this past November, and this is what the bottom half of the page looks like. At the top, there's just a navigation bar. You can see a lot of content, the important content, I should say, is above the fold, the links to all the different cookies and various items that they sell. So moving on to the SEO audit, you can see the main thing we looked at, the broken links, the number of clicks it takes to get from one part of the page to another, alt tags, navigation, etc., etc. Overall, Walker's ranked very highly on all of these. Main thing that we noticed was that there were not many alt tags or H1 tags on the site, and for the H2 tags, there were not very many, but the two that were there were stuff that should be written in the H1 tag section. And this is important for a site such as Walker's because the site is very heavily image-based. So, for example, machines that are going through SEO or search engines are not going to be able to see the images that are posted on Walker's website. And Walker's obviously has a lot of those to showcase the different type of cookies and options that they have to offer. So if they want to improve their standing, they should be able to write a little description just to say what exactly is there, try and help out for the search engines.
So, one of the things that was great was that Walker's already has a really strong social media following. Facebook and Pinterest are the two areas where Walker's is right now, although there is little to no presence on Twitter or LinkedIn. So we really had a great foundation with over 79,000 likes on Facebook. We looked at this for social media in two different ways, business to business and then business to consumer. And so in going to business, we wanted to kind of provide campaigns for LinkedIn and Twitter. And one of the examples, there are a few provided, but I'm just going to give you one of each for business and B2C. The goal to increase corporate gift sales. When we did some research and looked into this, we really felt like this could be achieved by getting a presence on LinkedIn. So we recommend that Walker's Shortbread create a LinkedIn page. And once this LinkedIn page is created, it would be smart to join HR and external relations groups on LinkedIn. For those of us that have worked in a professional setting, oftentimes, during bonus reward times, office celebrations, end of the year, holidays, your employer wants to give you a gift. And we feel that Walker Shortbread would be a great gift to give to your employees. And so using some posts that kind of promote the good work that your employees are doing, or talking about the engagement you're going to have, and then mentioning using Walker Shortbread at that event. For business to consumer, we looked at, based on the target audience, Facebook, Pinterest, and Twitter. And one of the campaigns that we came up with that we thought would be really positive for Walker Shortbread is a Facebook, Twitter, and Pinterest campaign working with Downton Abbey. So, as many of you know, it's an incredibly popular show on PBS. And Walker's Shortbread actually has an association with Downton Abbey in their tins. Walker's is known for a lot of their England, like highlighting the wedding or things like that, and Downton Abbey is one of those. So, to go back to the goal of increasing the conversion rate and the social media conversation, we thought about recommending a campaign that would target a female audience of about 20 to 35 years old, which reaches that secondary audience of the younger generation and then kind of as well. So this campaign, we kind of do a couple of things. It would encourage walkers to go out and discuss things that are going on with Downton Abbey, specifically at the season premiere, big events, and the finale. And then that would also encourage the users to tweet back photos or pin things on a Pinterest board or share things on Facebook. So this is just another way that walkers can establish customer connection and increase that conversation. And so why we chose to do this is, as we mentioned, there was a website redesign in November. And in talking with our client, unfortunately, there's not a whole lot that can be changed on the website. But we think that at this point, social media would really be we would encourage this kind of strong connection with the customer. And doing research, while Walker Shortbread doesn't really have a presence on Twitter, kind of similar to, I believe it was Profi, people are talking about walkers already. And so these kind of examples are just a really good way to continue to promote that conversation and then increase the conversion rate. Thank you guys very much.
All right, good morning, everyone. My name is Jessica Kingman, and I worked alongside Kara Halloran and Ariel Riccio to develop a social media and SEO plan for Custom Koozies in the past few months. So for those of you who aren't aware of what Custom Koozies is, they're a Raleigh-based e-commerce business that specializes in custom printed koozies for drinks. So they're an entirely e-commerce operation, and so because of this, it was really important for us to determine what their digital reputation is, because their website is really their storefront. So for the reputation analysis, we use a tool called Social Mention. What this tool does is it pulls together social media chatter around a keyword, or in our case, keywords, and then it ranks them on sentiment, so things if it was a positive sentiment, a negative sentiment, or a neutral one. We also manually went through Google search results to find the results that were applicable to the Custom Koozies brand, and then we coded them based on the same criteria as social mention, with it either being positive, negative, or neutral. And what we found was that the Custom Koozies brand had an overwhelmingly neutral reputation online, with very little organic chatter about the brand initially. And while a neutral reputation is amazingly better than having a negative one, we really want to promote a positive brand experience because they are solely e-commerce. And we would love to see more people and more customers talking about the brand online, because one of the things that Custom Koozies really prides themselves on is their great customer service. So besides the obvious benefits of having a positive brand experience, this is really critical for Custom Koozies because as potential customers are researching the brand, especially because there's no physical location, they're kind of somewhat putting their trust in a faceless entity. And what this positive online reputation does for them is, with plenty of people sharing their positive experiences, it instills a sense of trust in their potential customers. And that makes them want to spend money on something because they realize that they're going to be taken care of because other people have had similar positive experiences. So in addition to doing reputation analysis, we also looked at the Custom Koozie website. And again, as I mentioned before, they don't have a physical location, so their website is their storefront. And because of this, the main function of their website is to sell their products. And so we really wanted to look at this usability test to make sure that the interface of the Custom Koozie website was intuitive for users, and that there weren't any functional issues that would inhibit them or inhibit users from accomplishing their main goal. So we created a task that would be similar to what a typical user would access the site for, and that was to find, design, and buy koozies. And we found some important functional issues that I'm just going to kind of highlight. So one of the first things that really popped out to us was that the main navigation changed as a user traveled from page to page. And this could disrupt the flow of the user, as it isn't necessarily intuitive as it's changing as they go to different pages. And additionally to this, some of the most important links are not on the navigation site, or on the main navigation, excuse me. So one of the great things about Custom Koozie is that it allows its customers to create these custom designs. They're not just limited to a set of options. However, the Design Now link was posted on the secondary navigation, and we felt that that was a really important function of the site because that's how customers go and design these koozies. Additionally, another great thing about Custom Koozies is that they have such a great brand story and a personality. So it's really natural to want to display all of that on the website. But in some cases, there's a lot of text or videos that were obscuring the main function, so users would have to scroll down to accomplish their task, which isn't necessarily intuitive for the user, and users may not understand that there's more below the fold of the website and may navigate away. Additionally, there wasn't a consistent color scheme. This was readily apparent on the home page, where that secondary nav used to have these really big colorful buttons, and while they drew the user's attention to these secondary navs, it didn't allow them to hone in on the product, which is really what we want users to look at when they come to the page, honing in on why they came there, and that's to buy koozies. And then finally, again, I mentioned that they really do pride themselves on great customer service. And one of the things that they had was a third-party review site where customers could travel to right on the homepage to write them a review about their great experience with Custom Koozies. Unfortunately, once users clicked on the review site, there wasn't an option for them to leave a review. And so this is a really important thing because we want to promote this positive brand experience to instill trust in our potential customers. And so this prevented users from sharing, so potential customers didn't learn from the great experiences that past customers had, and it didn't help them want to invest their trust or their money in Custom Koozies. So with all of that being said, we were incredibly fortunate to have, working with Custom Koozies, that they were really receptive to all the things that we found, and as you can see behind me, they've made some really great changes to their site, including making the color scheme more consistent across all of the pages, and moving some of the more important links to the top main navigation that is now staying consistent across all pages. It was also really important for us to determine how Custom Koozie ranks on Google. To us, having a high search ranking is the difference between having a store on Main Street and having one on a side alley. It's how your users are finding you as a business. And so we used a tool called Screaming Frog, and this crawls websites very much like a search engine robot would. So what we found was actually really reassuring for us in that Custom Koozies was pretty structurally sound in their SEO. There were just some minor tweaks that we suggested just so they can show continued success as Google changes their algorithms throughout the years. So some of the things that we highlighted were just fixing broken links, removing some duplicate text, adding alt text for images, because as I think Jeffrey mentioned before, bots can't see images very well, and they need the rich keywords to help them determine how applicable they are to the site. So as I mentioned before, it's important for the interface to be intuitive for users, but it's also important for it to be functional and intuitive for the search engine robots, because high search rankings help improve a brand reputation and will help custom koozies continue to build their customer base. So social media is also incredibly important for the Custom Koozies brand, and they're currently active on Facebook, Twitter, and Pinterest. And one of the things that they do really well currently is that they're posting content in a really consistent manner. Another really encouraging thing is that they had a really large audience. However, they had a really limited engagement, and we think that that can definitely improve. This is kind of problematic, especially for Facebook, because Facebook has an algorithm very much like Google search ranking in that it determines what content shows up in people's newsfeed. So if somebody likes the Custom Koozies Facebook page and then never returns or never engages with the piece of content, even if we publish a really applicable piece of content in the future, the chances of that piece of content showing up in that user's newsfeed is pretty slim. And so we want to incite people to engage more with the Custom Koozies brand because they do have such a large brand personality. And we want to increase and expand that brand awareness and increase that audience size. One of the problems that we think is happening on the Facebook and why there is such a small engagement is that the current content revolves entirely around the product. So when we look at social media, people don't necessarily want to connect with the business. They want to connect with their friends, their family, and they want to connect with people who share content that's relevant to their wants and their needs. So what the Custom Koozies content should focus on is how they solve customer problems, which may not make a lot of sense at first, but what Custom Koozies really does for people is that they eliminate stress from event planning, and they help enhance an experience or an event for people. So in addition, they should just share content that's based around the experience of their products and what makes the Custom Koozies brand so fun and so unique. Additionally, the three mediums that they're currently using are different. So they have a different audience with different sets of needs. So the content that they're currently publishing is the exact same across these mediums, but it should be a little bit more nuanced to fit the needs of the audience that's active on these pages. And finally, they have a really large following on Twitter, which is really reassuring as well, because it shows that people want to hear what Custom Koozies has to say. However, they only follow less than 10% of these people, and you have people who are reaching out and want to establish a relationship with you, and that's a really great start for Custom Koozies as a baseline. But reciprocating this relationship will help increase brand loyalty as they see this reciprocation. Additionally, it can help with social listening. So social listening is a really important tactic in social media, and it allows brands to tap into their current or even potential audience base to see what people are saying about their brand. So really it's looking at who is talking about you, what they're saying about you, and where they're saying it. And this is important for several reasons. Let's say hypothetically that there's a lot of people who are talking about Custom Koozies on Instagram and sharing content there, and they're a very active audience there. If Custom Koozies isn't aware of this happening on Instagram, then they're missing out on a large opportunity to connect with a potential audience base. Additionally, if the content is really important with social listening, and social listening can inform content decisions. So if, for instance, Custom Koozie was basing all of their content around party planning, but all of their customers were talking about planning about weddings, there's a content mismatch, and Custom Koozies really should highlight how they're going to solve a customer problem. Additionally, they can tap into what their competitors are saying and who is talking to them and about them. So utilizing social listening is incredibly important for the Custom Koozies brand because it can help inform content. It may sound a little time-consuming, but with tools like Social Mention, as I mentioned before, Google Alerts, where you can input a keyword phrase, and it will send you an email based on a time frame. It can either be daily or weekly. And Twitter search, by just searching for Koozies or the Custom Koozie brand name, they can zone in on these conversations and really make sure that they're benefiting the most out of social media. So as I mentioned before, social media is a really great place to let the Custom Koozies brand personality shine. And Custom Koozies is a really fortunate brand in that their product is inherently fun, and people are clearly wanting to connect and talk about this product. And so social media is that chance to bring that personality to life and interact with consumers. So we set up three main goals that we wanted to see for the Custom Koozies social media. The first of these was to increase reach of content across social media. And the reason for this is that we wanted to increase the amount of people who were exposed to the Custom Koozies brand and their content to expand the size of their audience as well as to increase brand awareness. Next, we wanted to increase social media engagement. As well as increasing the size of their audience and their potential customer base, these consumers could help could remember the valuable content that Custom Koozie is publishing, and this can facilitate a relationship between the brand and its consumers. By building these positive brand relationships, it promotes brand loyalty and increases the likelihood that people are going to come back to Custom Koozies for all of their needs time and time again. Additionally, we wanted to increase site traffic from social media. So because Custom Koozies is solely e-commerce, they don't necessarily have those face-to-face interactions with their potential customers or even their current customers. So interacting with them on social media is kind of a stand-in for this. So building a relationship with these people enhances the fact that the people who travel from social media to their website are likely to buy because they already know and trust the Custom Koozie brand. So some of our tactics for the Custom Koozie social media is we wanted to expand the amount of channels that they're using from 3 to 6. So we think it's very important that they stay active on Facebook, Twitter, and Pinterest. In addition to this, we also want to see them expand to Instagram, Google+, and LinkedIn. Even though all of these are different, and as I mentioned before, different tactics should be used on each because there's different audiences living on all, we have come up with some broad stroke tactics that we think will be applicable across all sites and even offline. So the first of these is to create a physical print flyer to include in all the product packaging that's shipped to their customers. This can drive the current customers to their site and expand the size of their audience by including the links to the site. Because these people have already bought the product, they already have a relationship with the Custom Koozie brand, and they're more likely to then share the content and even share if they had a really great positive experience with the Custom Koozie brand. And this will facilitate more positive social media reviews. Additionally, another tactic that we're thinking about using across, or proposing using across social media is the hashtag cheers, because this just promotes the experience of the product. When you hear the word cheers, you just think about the positive and fun times you have with your friends. And this will also create consistent branding across all of the social platforms. It can also be used for promotional offers and contests as well. And looking at promotional contests and offers, we really want more people to share their experience with Custom Koozies on Facebook and Twitter, but we can't expect to snap our fingers and create all this great content for people to automatically do that. So one of the things that we want to see happen is using small incentive offers to promote people sharing and just to kickstart this. Because even if somebody has a really great experience with the Custom Koozie brand, if they go to the website and they don't see other people sharing information or sharing their stories, they may feel uncomfortable doing so themselves. So as more and more people begin sharing their experiences and sharing their photos, we hope to see the kind of domino effect where it continues to happen. So social media is really integral for sales, especially for the Custom Koozies brand, because it's where they can display their personality and especially interact with their consumers. However, this won't lead to sales in a linear fashion, as social media is not necessarily a direct response platform. What social media excels as is a channel for raising brand awareness, answering questions, generating interest about the brand and even a product, and connecting with your customers. So a measurement plan is an easy way to show how effective your social media efforts are. So luckily with 3 of our social networks that we're proposing using, Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter, they have really great back-end tools that will allow Custom Koozies to tap into their current social media performance. Some additional tools such as Google Analytics will help them keep track of how their social media is driving traffic to the site, especially after a large promotional offer. Additionally, measuring success is vital because it lets you know if your efforts are worthwhile or if your current strategy is working. So one of the things that Custom Koozies should measure with their social media insights is reach. And this implies improvements in the brand awareness. So if your results are showing that more people are interested in you, this is also showing more people could be interested in potentially interacting with you. So looking at interaction, engagement is another great thing for Custom Koozies to measure on their analytics back end. Engagement is important in ensuring social media success, as it helps you evaluate what content is being the most successful and who is really interested in interacting with you and your brand. So one of the ways that measuring engagement is beneficial is that it provides you with information to improve strategy. So if you see content that is being acted with the most, this is probably your most successful pieces of content. So looking at trends to determine what your audience wants to see more of is really important here. So for instance, if we find that pictures of drink recipes on Pinterest are being repinned far more than others, then it might be pertinent to include these pictures or recipes on both Facebook and Twitter. This also provides insights into what your interests of your target audience are. You can also provide insights into what your audience doesn't want to see. So if you see content that isn't being interacted with as much, you can put your effort behind things that are really driving engagement. Additionally, knowing who's interacting with your content will allow you to determine brand enthusiasts. And these are the people who are going to consistently share your content on social media and interact with your brand, and they have a large reach and brand influence. So interacting with these engaged users will be a great way to promote the Custom Koozies brand on a positive level. Additionally, knowing who is engaging with your content gives you more detailed information about your target audience. So certain demographics are engaging more with your content than others. So for example, if Custom Koozies were to find that women are commenting on more of their Facebook posts, they could run a contest that would promote monogrammed koozies as a prize for women sharing a photo of them using a koozie. So in conclusion, by incorporating successful social media strategies with a website that functions well for both humans and robots, Custom Koozies will be able to promote a positive brand experience that will incite more customer engagement and help them in the long run. Thank you.
All right. Good morning and welcome to our final client report for our client, TireTech. My name is Ashley Gilmer. To my left is Brandon Himmelman, and to his left is Jessica Chambers, and you'll get the chance to hear from us all throughout this presentation. We're going to discuss the goals, content, and KPIs for our client. Okay, so who is TireTech? TireTech is a biotechnology company that's headquartered in Mooresville, North Carolina. They were founded in 2004. They specialize in Walmart, which is a really big deal. That's a true testament to the quality of products that they produce. Right now, they are currently marketing Vimoose, which is a light treatment product, as well as Guardian, which is an insect repellent. Okay, so it's important to know what people are saying about you on the internet, right? Yeah. That would be a pretty fair conclusion. We use Google to perform a reputation analysis for TireTech as well as their product offerings. We evaluated the page rank, the page title, the status, as well as the sentiment. Not only do you need to know what your top links are, you need to know exactly the sentiment of those links, whether it's negative or positive, and that'll help you to make adjustments to your marketing plan accordingly. In the results, we found mostly stock information. For instance, what's the going price of TireTech stock in Switzerland and stuff like that. That's not really the type of engaging content that we want to have the top 30 or so results that, you know, you give your name. So we evaluated the top 30 results, and we have a spreadsheet in our client that overall. Okay, so we developed 3 goals and objectives based on what our client expressed in terms of their needs, as well as our own observations. The first goal is to educate. TireTech is in a unique position because they offer pesticide-free products, and they are also effective. So most of the companies, for instance, for lice treatment, they use a lot of chemicals, and you know, it would really be advantageous for TireTech to educate parents on why that's not wise to put those type of chemicals into your children's bed. So one of their main goals is going to educate. Another goal is to increase brand awareness. As I said before, they were established in 2004, so they're still really finding their place into this market, and they're working on establishing. So they're really going to have to try to do that. We're going to discuss some of their top competitors a little bit on. They're going to have to work hard to establish themselves as an established brand in this emerging technology. Another goal is to increase the revenue. The other 2 previously stated goals to educate and to increase brand awareness. They work in tandem to increase the revenue, which is the ultimate. Okay. We also performed a website usability analysis. We evaluated the page view report using the Google Analytics page speed insights. And for the mobile website, they scored a 78 out of 100. For the desktop, they scored a 91 out of 100. Google suggested they get rid of the render blocking JavaScript and CSS on their website. So that basically means they just need to minimize their code and just optimize it for the web and just convert everything as small as it can be so that it can go fast. With all of these different technologies, we have our cell phones, we have tablets, we have the desktop. So how does the internet know exactly how you're going to access the content? They need to establish a viewport on their website, which basically recognizes the difference between a desktop and mobile business. And so that means that the content will be represented and visually a little bit different to best fit how the people are accessing the content. For instance, the mobile size needs to be a little bit bigger, as well as the button needs to be a little bit larger for mobile to optimize the next easier for people to tap. Okay. We also look at the navigation. For the most part, the navigation is very logical, and has a clear hierarchy with things on each page. All of the content on the By product website, which is what we kind of focus on for this report entails, all the content is only 2 clicks away from the home page, which is a fairly good number considering the amount of content. The colors in the drop-down menu could be enhanced. For instance, whenever they have maybe 4 different tabs, and then under each tab there's a drop-down menu of 3 additional items. There's no button coordination to let people know what they're clicking on that they hover, so nice enhanced effect would be probably to just, a subtle change to different colors that people know exactly what content they're looking at. Okay? As far as visuals, the color scheme, as you can see, is kind of like this bright red, white, and also blue. So like that's a good color scheme for the audience that they're going to attract. It's very clear, it's very clean. The only real issue that I really came across with some of the focuses in the slider is their theme right now is to win the war against headlights. And so they have slider images of 3 different sliders, and they have children, they have helmets or kind of like armor over their head. Our one recommendation would be to either do a better job of photoshopping of the images, or to perhaps do away with the headgear altogether, just have people.
All right, for search engine optimization, obviously we want to, as you know well by now, we want to upgrade or up to speed where you rank in Google search. So one of the things we found was some of the URL names indexing might be able to touch up. Why? Those scientific studies. A little bit wordy, a lot of characters. That could be shortened. Key search terms and the meta information, meta tags are what goes in the code in the head of the page, or anywhere. But that helps the spiders or the robots to determine what the section is, what the content of the page is about. They could utilize that in terms of, especially the number of characters. H1 tags, actually the spiders will differentiate between H1 and H2, and having a clear distinction and even distribution throughout the page will help in terms of where you come up. Actually, the search engines will punish you, basically, and lower you in the search results. Descriptive tags for all the images. These are called image tags. They did very well here, very descriptive, except there's too much repetition. Each image needs to have its own distinct tag. The boy in the previous picture with the helmet, saving this boy from watching or whatever, but if it describes that, it still keeps the thing. Obviously, putting some spreadsheets in. At the end of that, I have about 15 minutes going through a spreadsheet, so please, I want you all. And I'm also going to try and weave in the term social media a lot. You haven't heard that much yet, but right here we combined who the targets were and platforms that might be best to reach you. And obviously sorted by category, values and garden. Values again is the wise product, and one important thing to note about all these products is that 100% natural. But why is it enough the client does not want to approach the all natural aspect of it? Yeah, because research says that consumers, if they see all natural, they think not as effective. So that's going to come later. The most primary target audience would be moms. The platforms there would be Facebook, Pinterest, Twitter, and YouTube. And this is based entirely upon research data who hits these areas the most. School, church, teachers and nurses. I don't mess this up. Facebook should be on there as well because that's the #1 platform for this audience, so I apologize for that. Followed by LinkedIn and Twitter, which in the last 2 years, people in education on social media has gone up 34%, almost 80% of those people are on platforms. Health professionals, these are accurate, but essential thing. The eco-friendly consumer and breeding conscience, again, you don't want to come right out of the gate saying 100% natural. But among these people, you can try to approach that before you go full bore with it. The Guardian, which is a mosquito product, and we had a fly-in team, some of them here, who actually tried that on their trip, so it worked very well. Moms are going to be the same platforms, just a little bit of different tweaking in the messaging in terms of hashtags and sort of thing. Backyard families, cookouts. We have some ideas, also suggestions later on how to approach these people. Outdoor enthusiasts, the risk takers, so we had in mind there, or our client had in mind there, so we approached that as such. Obviously, they're big on Twitter and YouTube, and since they are brand new in terms of their product on the market, we have suggestions for lots of different platforms. We want to try to keep it a narrow focus just to help them sort of just some daunting at first, maybe well. So, but the outdoor enthusiasts, we had some great ideas for YouTube. If you want to improve your SEO, YouTube is a good spot. It's the second most used search engine. It just happens to be owned by a company called Google. You've heard of them. But people, and I'm drawing a blank, the video camera, the GoPro, it's a huge success now. These outdoor enthusiasts are using that on YouTube, and actually they have a YouTube success story on that. So, and again, with eco-friendly consumers, specialized messaging for them, hashtags, specific, and we've gone further into that report. We might get so much into it here.
So as Brandon just went over, we kind of figured out who we wanted to talk to, and then our next step was, what's the conversation that's already happening? So we went through and we identified who the main competitors for these products were going to be. As you can see for the Moose, the Lice product, Grid, Lice Shield, Nix, some of these products you may have possibly heard, and they're doing absolutely nothing in the social media world. So that's a pretty strong point for Moose. They have a lot of areas which they can come in and be the only person cultivating this conversation. Now for Guardian, not so much. We are going against Off, Potter, Sawyer. These are very big and well-known products. The Off page itself is particularly interesting. They have about 9 to 12 posts a month, and that's including during the winter months, in which you wouldn't really think there'd be a lot of stuff, but they kind of cultivate the idea of, the outdoors are missing you. We are waiting for you to come back and have our product here. So they really kind of captivate on that idea of a brand. And the Sawyer is really kind of who's going all out within a lot of different social network channels. Now, the thing about Sawyer is they have a lot of products outside of just the an effective bug spray. So it's a little bit more all-encompassing there, but they're still kind of making sure they have a presence on all the different channels. Now, we did go ahead and make a 6-month editorial content for our clients. Part of the things you have to think about, though, with the Moose and with Guardian is probably no one here really wants to be scrolling through the Facebook newsfeed and see a lot of pictures of lice and bugs. It's not really something you're going to want to see on a daily basis. So a lot of what we try to do is kind of come up with a brand way to approach our product. So we've already talked to our client kind of previously. We do know that Facebook and Twitter are where they're primarily going to want to focus within our reports, we do have recommendations for YouTube, Instagram, LinkedIn, Google Plus as well. Now, we did come up with a hashtag, which we do have mentioned here on Twitter, for no more likes. It's something really short and simple that we feel like moms or families would want to use. And there actually are a couple of posts already under that hashtag, so it's a good way to get in there. And for the Guardian product, we actually matched that with no more fights. So that way they kind of go together, even though they're two separate products, but it might kind of build some leaders there within the mind of our customers. For where we're starting off with both these products, there is no social media presence at all. So we are literally building from the ground up. So we kind of started off pretty easy, 3 to 5 Facebook posts a week, maybe 1 to 3 tweets per day. And a lot of the content we have designed for them to be overlapping. So if they write a blog post, share that on Facebook, share that on Twitter, got ahead and got one of your products out there already. Then also I think just kind of cultivating conversation. There was recently a news article we saw where if your kids are not down with lice, schools are no longer sending them home, you know. You agree, disagree. Kind of cultivating these conversations, but also just doing wellness tips for families. Time to go back to school. You should make sure you get these different products in. Hey, you can pick up the Moose shampoo that will prevent your child from getting lice. Just all these simple kind of little things to go through there, as well as kind of share through. And along with Twitter, the health tips, which really kind of build that idea of it's not so much about the lice, it's about having a safe, friendly product for your family who wants to support you. And considering the fact there's not going to always be an immediate purchase to be made, it's kind of a point to build an overall relationship as opposed to just a one-time buy. Ashley talked earlier about our goals. We want to go through the specific KPIs so we can actually measure and kind of see how these are overall being implemented and carried out. A lot of what we recommend here are just guidelines. Where we are starting from 0 likes and 0 tweets, it's really hard to kind of give a good guesstimation, I would say, of how really that's going to progress and go through. So these are ideally what we would like to see. We would love to see maybe more, you know, some weeks, just depending on the content, but just as a place to kind of build up from there. We want to get the page views up, as well as kind of the video views, which we do have in the YouTube account as far as how to actually go through and use the most product in detail. And then just giving the number of followers, fans, and subscribers, you can see where we've gone through each platform individually with suggestions that we do have kind of parallel within our report. So if they do just want to only use Facebook, we have that kind of narrowed out there within them. And kind of as I said before, this isn't really a product where you're going to necessarily have an immediate sale from. So we just want to kind of get the word of mouth and top of mind awareness. That way it is a trusted product, so in case the kid does end up with lice and mom's going to think, hey, Moose, I know this product. Or when it comes time for summer again, they're going to think, I want to get the safe product for my child who's in the backyard. Or I want the long-lasting product for bug spray for when I go actually out hiking to be able to keep up with that there. And the other thing we did kind of want to go ahead and try to get was organic product reviews, where that's a big thing on the internet, especially on the idea of showrooming, in which you're standing in the store with your phone looking at product reviews. The last thing we want is to have a panicked mom standing in front of lice products going, what do I buy? And there's not going to be any reviews for the product. So kind of trying to be able to promote those, get those on the websites as well, would be great help for members. And that's everything that we have, and if there's any questions, you can definitely send us a message after everyone's done with the presentation. Thank you.
Oh, question. Can I pull this up in my Google, the PowerPoint? That's not how it's supposed to look.
Yes, before
All right.
just put out a word versus and how this is going.
All right. My name is Reginald Peterson II, and I was part of the team of Evan Atkinson and Tanisha Brown. And our client was Concord Components Incorporated. So who's Concord Components? Concord Components is a premier stocking electronic distributor. So basically, if you look at your computers, you see motherboards or any kind of electronics, and you see those little things that look like spiders or the little parts that go into motherboards. Basically, that's what Concord Component has. That's their product. They were actually established in Nebraska in 1995, but they do have contacts here locally that we work with to enable to do our whole social media and SEO analytics campaign. What we really had to focus on with Concord Components, because they're such a small brand, and most of their clients are government agencies or contract works and things like that. They have to take pride in having quality parts. A lot of things that's going on in the business that has to do with electronics is counterfeit parts or low quality parts. So our big focus of our campaign was to brand awareness and make them seem like almost like a local store. Like you go home, like a Brand Sporting Goods or something like that, real local, where they can get help, great customer service and great quality product. So social media marketing basically is what you've been listening to all day. Is using social media to be able to put your brand and put your business out there. Concord Components is mostly business to business. So as we go in later on, we're going to show what the tactics that we use because it's a business company in order to make them more relevant in their particular market. And also with the social media campaign, Concord Components will have a wider reach at a low cost. All right. So like I said before, building brand awareness was our key part of our campaign, and making them seem as they are a industry problem solver for counterfeit parts. And also, like I said before, building a relationship with customers who recognizes Concord as a superior customer service and quality parts. So what we did was we focused on a reputation analysis, the usability test, the social media plan, and the SEO audit. Pretty much the same thing that everybody else did. But what we had to do with the repetition analysis was we went through and we noticed that everything with them was pretty much neutral. They really didn't have a reputational alarm because compared to a lot of the other electronic companies, they're very, very, very small. So everything was really neutral with them on that. But what we had to do was focus on making them a well-known small company. And basically, we're going to get into that with the brand awareness. So we went through and we did our usability test. And basically what a usability test is if you go into a website, testing the interaction between users and your web page. So with them, we noticed a couple things, and they actually have a nice site. And the main thing that Concord Component does is you're looking for parts. So it's not really much else, that a user or a customer will be looking for on their website other than parts and history. So one thing that we noticed when looking at their website, when it transferred to mobile devices, it was very, very difficult to use, not as user-friendly. So we actually suggested resizing for mobile. As far as their navigation, most of the navigation had to do with hovering with the mobile, and also that doesn't support on mobile the hovering effect, and also the color. So when you hover over things, sometimes the color would change. That is something we also suggested them that they shouldn't do, just because of the difficulty it had transferring to mobile. Your links, also the links, inbound links and everything, they actually did not change color, which we found would be kind of difficult for a user when being able to know what links you already clicked on. So that was something else we also suggested to them. Of course, you've been hearing about alt tags all day, and with them being so part heavy and parts being their main product, it's essential that they have alt tags. The alt tags give you a small description of whatever picture you're hovering over, and the last bullet basically enforce your product as the best. You go to their website, looks like a regular website, but with us and our team, getting them to be the company that will keep you safe from counterfeit parts. We need to have something as soon as you get on that landing page that shows that they will give you guaranteed quality parts. So the social media plan. Basically, with the social media plan, I said it 100 times already. It sells, you got to repeat it 7 times, but we're building brand awareness. So what we had to do with Copper Components, because they didn't have much brand awareness at all, we wanted them to learn how to teach how to listen to their audience, how to participate in online conversation, conversation tactics, basically how to initiate conversations online, and how to measure the participation going on online. All right. So the main platforms that we suggested were LinkedIn, Google+, Twitter, SlideShare, and the reason for this is because, like I said earlier, they are mostly business to business. Being able to connect with similar businesses on these platforms is definitely essential for them. Some of the businesses, as far as like LinkedIn, Google+, the businesses that we suggested that they would be in groups with or at, or we're talking about the product, is 3M, AMD. All these are electric companies. Hewlett and Packard, IBM, Mitel, Philips. Being able to get into those type of groups will basically make your brand become more recognized, and also keep you informed on the new things that's going on in the industry. We also said develop a blog. Developing a blog was very important because it'll give you a reason to be able to reach out to customers and have those conversations. So if people have questions about counterfeit parts and things like that, Concord Components will be able to speak on it and speak directly to it. So some of the things, we actually had stories set up for them because our plan was actually a 60-day plan. So in order, we told them that they need to plan ahead on their blog topics, so you won't be thinking of something, out the back of your head at the last minute. Some of the topics would be, what exactly is the counterfeit part? The impact that counterfeit parts have on the industry. How to avoid purchasing counterfeit parts, best practices. And we got a list of 20 things here, basically surrounded about counterfeit parts, making sure you get quality, customer service, those type of things, so that new clients and also old clients will feel comfortable and confident in Concord Components. You look at your KPIs. I guess I can talk about KPIs. Mostly our key performance indicators are going to be based off of the LinkedIn, the Google, the Twitter, and seeing the results of how users and how the community, the electronic community, is responding to the different platforms. So we go to your SEO audit. So like Brenda said before, the SEO basically helps with your search rankings. Concord Components had a decent ranking. They come up, if you Google them, they will come up to the top because of their company. However, they didn't have many internal leaks, so that goes back to the brand awareness. They're not really linked to a lot of people, but with the help of the Google Plus and getting to those electronic groups, they will be more of topic of conversation, so they can get more internal leaks into their site. The depth of the architecture, basically the design of the site was good. The colors were actually similar to this. I did the PowerPoint in Google, and it was white and red, and now it's like red and Alabama, maroon, whatever. But the colors and everything, the website, it actually all goes together. Alt tags, I spoke about that earlier. They do need alt tags, and we actually felt like they needed more pictures before the parts. However, their inventory of parts is like endless. They have thousands and thousands of parts. So we just suggested some of the main parts that you find out that customers are really looking for. Definitely have alt tags for them. Also, your appropriate URLs and your title tags. These are all things that help far as, when the meta tag, that the description of the site. And what we really wanted with the meta tag was to, push the sale. So instead of, saying, we have we have the best quality electronics at the best price, would be a great meta tag in order to, push the drive for the sale. And what we also did was develop a KPI tracker for them. We did that in a spreadsheet. So with the KPI tracker, what you will be doing is analyzing basically all your results from your Google Plus, and this goes into the measurements. This goes into the measurements and everything. So measuring your Google Plus results. We had views, your blog share. So we also addressed the white papers tool. And with the white paper, again, the focus is going to be on counterfeit parts and making sure that people won't have counterfeit parts and ways to avoid that. And, doing these things is basically just trying to build up a trust with the clients. Basically what we did with some of the social media numbers and the KPI tracker is the increase of audience activity for the KPIs listed in the goals. Keep track of the increase in Google Plus views, followers, and circles. Keep track of the increase in your LinkedIn and the LinkedIn groups that you are joining. Like the slide share, if you put up a white paper, keeping track of the views, the shares, basically just seeing how active you are in the community. And basically, in conclusion, for Concord components, building brand awareness was essential in our platform, just because it's a small company that's really in a big industry. They're going against big dogs. Become seen as an industry problem solver for counterfeit parts. Build strong relationships with customers who recognize Concord commercial their service and quality. And that's what we stuck with throughout this whole campaign. So with that being said, if you need any parts for a computer or anything like that, please go to Concord Components.
While our last group is getting set up, there's a sheet going around. You can sign up if you want pizza after this. Can you make sure it gets back to me within the next 10 minutes so I can order it?
All right. Good morning, everybody. I'm Justin Wiley. To my left is Craig Sedanowitz, and we also work with David Howell in the back. Our group that we worked with was Joseph's Pharmacy, which is a local pharmacy in Raleigh, North Carolina. As I just mentioned, they are local family oriented. They're based in Raleigh, so that's where most of their target audience is, Raleigh and the surrounding area. Some of the services that they provide are local delivery. If you live near the store, they will take your prescription, they will fill your prescription and bring it to you. Compounding and custom medications. If you have a special prescription or you need some kind of, some personalization that the big brand pharmacies can't give you, Joseph's offers that. They also offer health seminars, immunizations, and diabetes counseling and support. So this is a look at their website as it is currently. They actually just recently went through they got a new website, just a few short months ago. So this was the site that we used for things like our SEO audit, where we did a lot of our usability tests and everything like that. Everything's fairly clear here on the main page of the website, so that's good. As far as social media goes, we took a look at their Twitter and Facebook feed. This is an example of some stuff that we pulled from their Twitter feed. There's a lot of stuff that, some more relevant content could be posted. Not really shown here is that there are a lot of retweets that are, Not relevant, basically. So there's some work that can be done with Twitter. We'll get into that a little bit later with our social media plan. And then this is a look at some posts that we found on their Facebook wall. One of the big things to notice is that there's a large gap in between postings, so there definitely needs to be some more regular postings on Facebook in addition to posting some more relevant content. So sort of a summary of what we did, we created a digital strategy for Joseph's Pharmacy. This included a heuristic usability test. What a heuristic usability test is, for a normal usability test, we would take a user who hasn't been to the site before, doesn't really know that much about it, and give them tasks to complete, see how long it takes them to do such things. Because our group, we know what good web design practices are and stuff like that. We set tasks for ourselves that, we know are important, that we know should work, like clicking on the logo to bring you back to the home screen, or hover effects, access on a mobile platform, stuff like that. So that was part of our usability test. We also constructed a social media plan and conducted a search engine optimization audit, which we will get into more in just a little bit.
And I'm going to talk a little bit about the social media plan. So the main purpose of having a social media plan and kind of getting your voice out there on social media. One is to help promote the business and get brand awareness out. We also wanted to help encourage customer engagement with the brand, so things like likes and sharing, retweets, and things like that. And one of the main things also is to kind of build trust with new customers and also the existing ones. So being able to show that they're experts in the field with the content they're posting on social media is something that's important, just to build trust that people will want to go back there, or if they're new customers, understand that Joseph's Pharmacy knows what they're talking about and it's a good place to go for their needs. So some of the goals that we came up with first after kind of looking at their social media initially, like we said, some of their stuff, they do post a lot of relevant content, but there is also a lot of non-relevant content that's posted. So one of our main goals here is to create an effective social media voice with the relevant content on a couple different platforms. So they're currently right now using Twitter and Facebook, but we'd also like to see the addition of Google+, just because that helps out with SEO a lot more as well. We want them to use the social media plan to use it for educating their followers about health-related things, and we want them to build awareness of their brand as well. So Joseph's Pharmacy's main target audience is really anybody with a prescription, as they told us. It's typically people that are 45 or older, but like I said, it's really anybody with a prescription. And it's also mainly in the local area. I think they said the majority of their users are within just a couple miles, so we really want to target kind of just the local community overall. And again, the desired effects of the social media plan are really to increase the amount of customers that they're coming in, also to increase engagement and brand awareness overall. So for these goals, we came up with some key performance indicators. Again, what's different with this is these are measurable things that they can keep track of. So one of them is to increase the number of new clients to Joseph's Pharmacy, so seeing how many people are kind of coming into their business, how many customers they're having. We want to gain more followers on social media, specifically Facebook and Twitter. This is something right now they're currently around 70 in both Facebook and Twitter followers, so we'd like to see that increase. So that's something obviously that you can measure, seeing how many followers there are. We also want to promote sharing more likes and engagement on the social media, just to see that people are talking about it or it's helped getting their message to a further reach. And then we also want to increase the page views on their current website and make sure that people are coming to their website or at least seeing their content that they're putting out there. So the first step of this plan is really going into the social listening. So it's basically kind of doing a little research getting into this. So one of the things that we want to do is first is look at the social audience. So who right now is following them on Facebook, who's following them on Twitter, and what kind of things are they already liking or not liking. We also want to look at competitors, such as CVS or Walgreens. They're obviously big national chains. And I think CVS, I believe, has 1.3 million followers on Facebook. Walgreens has about 4.3 million followers. So it's obviously, can't really directly compare with that of, we're not going to get 1 million followers tomorrow. But it is good to see what they're posting, if they have that much engagement, what are they posting? So right now, CVS and Walgreens both on Facebook are posting usually about 1 to 2 times per day. So that seems like a good amount that we want to encourage on there. Again, we want them to pay attention to what the audience is already liking. So if they're posting something, what are people already engaging with, or what is not getting any engagement on there? And again, what records to keep during this is start to measure how many new followers are gained throughout social media, and how many page views they're getting to their content. So we want to have them use things. Right now they're using an outside developer for their website. They don't have really too much direct control on their website, other than if they need to make fixes, they'll have to go back to their developer to get that fixed. So right now they don't have Google Analytics in their current website, but something that we can encourage is using something like Bitly, which is a URL shortener, but also has some basic analytics in there as well too. So if they post something, want to post a link to Facebook or Twitter, and they use that, they can see how many page views are coming in through that, so they can see who's listening and how often. So kind of the main principles that we want to go with is, one, like we talked about, is really focusing on relevant health-related content on there. So it's not something that we need, like I said, pictures of a cat or song lyrics or things like that. Even though that's obviously gets a lot of likes on there. But we want to build their trust with their customers, so we want them to promote health-related information. We looked at promoting using a hashtag Raleigh Health or Healthy Raleigh. Again, since their majority of their customers are local in the community, that's something that we really want to promote. So it's also helpful for them if there is something going on in Raleigh or in the local area to kind of latch onto that and also use their hashtags to kind of promote their business in that. And again, we want to encourage them to encourage engagement through calls to action. So maybe not just posting something, but a call to action like come to the store and get what you need. So something like that, or sharing things like that. So not just blank content, but we want to have them encourage a call to action in there. So like we said, we wanted them to continue to use Twitter and Facebook, but we also want to add Google Plus for SEO purposes. Google Plus, since it's part of Google, it's obviously going to get much higher rankings. So that's something where they can kind of update their content on Google Plus as well as Facebook. Since the target audience, like we said, is typically around 45 plus, more people would be using Google Plus or Facebook on that instead of Twitter on there. So we still want to use Twitter because it's an easy avenue to get content out there, but we want to mainly focus on Facebook and Google Plus. We're also going to see if they can add a blog to their website as well. A blog is useful because they can put more long-form content in there. So if we want to talk about something about allergies, instead of just having a quick post about allergies and you can get medication at the store, they can maybe post a whole blog about the best practices, how to prepare for allergies, when the seasons are, things like that. So more facts which will relate trust to the customer, and they can demonstrate expertise in the field. We also, another tactic is not to overdo it. Like I said, we looked at things like CVS and Walgreens that are posting 1 to 2 times per day on Facebook. Right now, Justice Pharmacy has times where we saw sometimes there's a big gap in what they're posting, and then all of a sudden one day there's maybe 8 posts all in a row. So we don't want to have that oversaturate and kind of populate people's newsfeed where they don't want to look at it. So kind of average that out rather than breaks and big postings. So judging success through the social media plan. Again, it's going to be if you're going to see followers increase throughout the social media, and we're also seeing if followers are promoting the brand, so if they are retweeting content or talking about it in their hashtags or tagging them in there as well. So through the social media plan, kind of the main things that they're going to do to evaluate this plan and see if it's working is, one is looking at social numbers and then the analytics. So it's going to be looking at the actual numbers, how many page views are you getting, how many followers and likes are you getting, and looking at the analytics on that and seeing, is it certain times of the day, is it certain days, was it specific events, and see where that's working. After the evaluation, once you get those numbers and looking at the analytics, you want to compare that with the overall goals as well as the key performance indicators that we mentioned earlier. After that, it's going to be altering the plan as needed. So if you're posting certain content about allergies in that season and it's getting a lot of retweets or likes or something like that, you may want to focus more on that versus something that's getting no engagement at all. So there's specific types of, if you're doing visual content and that's getting a lot of engagement, then you want to kind of lean towards there. So looking at this kind of at the end of the week and seeing where your numbers and analytics are, we can kind of alter the plan as needed there and keep up to date with it.
Okay, so now let's talk a little bit about the search engine optimization audit that we did. Sort of the processes of the audit is things to see how well Joseph's Pharmacy would rank in a search engine like Google, Yahoo, Bing, whatever users are using to find about pharmacies in their local Raleigh area. So some of the things that we did with the audit was, very basic website type stuff. Test all the links in the navigation, make sure that you can get to where you need to go on the website without everything trapped someplace. We looked at things, like meta tags, alt tags, image names, stuff like that. Overall, the site is very SEO friendly, particularly if the user is, through their Google search settings, Google knows that you live in Raleigh or you live, in a surrounding area. Joseph's Pharmacy ranks very highly locally. But even when we used a neutral IP address, we were still able to find Joseph's Pharmacy on the search engine. So overall, the site is very SEO friendly, but it does have a few minor issues that, if fixed, can really boost their ranking. So like I mentioned earlier, the link accessibility, there are a couple of issues here. The big one is that the main logo on the website does not link to the homepage. In today's day and age of the internet, that's something that a lot of users sort of just expect to work, and when it doesn't, it can be, a very jarring type of thing. Another issue that we found is that their social media bar is a PNG and not actually buttons that link out to the actual social channels. And there are some things in there like MySpace and Stumble Upon that are in the social bar that obviously there's no presence for Joseph's Pharmacy in there, nor does there need to be. So that needs to be changed to actual buttons that link to the social channels and only the ones that they are planning to use, like we mentioned earlier, Facebook, Twitter, Google+. And like I talked about a little bit earlier, all the pages link to each other, so that's good. The navigation, it's a series of drop-down menus, but you can get where you need to go on the website. Talking a little bit about the depth of the architecture, all the pages are found through the main navigation, and it does have a very good sitemap, so the architecture is fine on the website. The alt text is very good. It's used appropriately in the media and the images. There are a couple of slideshows on different pages of the website, and the images located in those slideshows are missing some alt text, but that should be a fairly quick fix. One thing about the alt text, though, is a lot of the image files that it is accompanying are named things like, pic10.jpg instead of maybe, refill prescription.jpg or something like that. So the alt text kind of balances that out, that it would be ideal to have, both a descriptive file name and an alt tag to help with search ranking. Instructive navigation, every page accessed on the site, and there is a sitemap. The menus do have hover effects. That's how they work. So if there was to be a mobile or tablet version of the site, a dedicated mobile or tablet version, which there currently is not, then the hover effects will need to be removed or altered so that they would work better on those platforms. And the navigation is very consistent from page to page. The URLs are appropriate on their websites. They're short and accurate and descriptive, so we thought that was very good. And like I touched on briefly, there are useful titles, meta tags, H1 tags. The file names need to be a little bit better on the images, but the H1 tags are very descriptive. The title tags are descriptive. They're all used appropriately. One issue that we did find in the audit, though, was that there are too many meta keywords. It's stuffed very heavily at the beginning of keywords to try and help rank the search. And Google will eventually penalize you for that, so that's something that should be altered a little bit. So looking ahead in the future, we're hoping that Joseph's Pharmacy sort of uses our techniques with the social media plan and the audit, as well as everything else in the report that we put together for them, to continue to grow their local business, reach even more people around the Raleigh area, and continue to be that go-to pharmacy for anybody who needs a prescription, an immunization, or any other kind of health-related thing in the Raleigh area. Thank you very much.
We're done with our presentation. A lot of hours. The two of his clients are here, and that means we're done with our hangout too. Those of you whose clients are there, I'd encourage you to meet with them and answer the questions that they have after the presentations. Sorry.
Did you guys see that too?
Yeah, and if you can leave those for me, I'm actually gonna have to